Hey friend, just wanted to give you a quick tip to get inspired again. Sometimes we get stuck. The muse hasn't visited us in a while. It starts to get frustrating. You want to feel inspired again, and it's great to have different ways to sort of kickstart that inspiration. And one thing I've found that has at least worked for me is sometimes intentionally writing a certain instrument in a role I don't normally use it for. And if you want to take this even farther, a great thing to do is actually utilize an instrument in a role it just normally isn't used for. What I mean by this is basically the idea of a bass tends to be the base of a song and do a certain role, which is to sort of fill out the bottom of the mix and sort of be that low end instrument that actually has a pitch. So for example, a kick drum doesn't really count. That's part of rhythm, but the bass tends to be that lowest sound that you have in your stack of harmonies. So for example, if instead of utilizing a bass for that, like maybe you normally do, you could instead say use an organ sound, or maybe utilize a string part as the bass line instead of utilizing a bass. What I mean by string is probably a synth that is emulating a strings or something like that, which would really end up sounding a lot like a double bass. Or maybe you tend to use acoustic guitar, and specifically you do strummed rhythm acoustic guitar. That's sort of that backbone of your song. And then you do lead guitar with an electric guitar, which of course would be really common. So maybe you could change it up and intentionally decide to write the lead guitar part and to perform the lead guitar part or record it, whatever you're doing, with an acoustic guitar instead. Maybe you could even reverse their roles and actually have the electric guitar take over for that rhythm and instead make the acoustic the lead. Maybe you tend to use electric guitar doing power chords as sort of the foundation of your choruses to make them sound big and epic, but instead maybe change it up and choose to use synth for that role instead. If usually synths are the foundation of your song, try to make the foundation guitars instead. If usually the solo in the bridge is done by the electric guitar, instead maybe choose to give that to the strings or to the piano. The options here, of course, are unlimited. The idea is just to be intentional about, okay, normally I utilize the piano in this role, or normally I utilize the synth sound in this role, or the bass sound in this role, and instead actively deciding to use it in a different way than you normally utilize it. Even if it's something as simple as if you normally use piano block chords, instead intentionally deciding, you know what, I'm going to do arpeggios with the piano this time instead. And instead of having it maybe 2 octaves above middle C, I'm going to put it around middle C. So it's going to be in a different pitch range, and it's going to have a different role and be playing a different styled part than what I normally have it doing. So I hope that's helpful to you. And if you want more ways to kickstart your songwriting, be sure to check out my free guide on 10 different ways to start writing a song. That's meant to help with kickstarting inspiration as well, because some of the best ways to get re-inspired or to start out with songwriting is songwriting from different perspectives, because honestly, you might not be inspired at all to write songs with an acoustic guitar right now. But if you just went over to the piano or got out that old dusty flute that you used to play in high school, or oboe or something, maybe the second you grab a different instrument that has a different feel that you play differently, you will be inspired instead. Or maybe if you decide to write lyrics first instead of music first. Or perhaps if you just commit yourself to coming up with song ideas for now instead of trying to write lyrics. There are so many different ways to sit down and be inspired and be productive towards songwriting. And inspiration isn't just a coverall thing. It's not like you can either be inspired or not inspired in general. Just like some days you might enjoy a comedy movie and other days you'd be annoyed by the same comedy movie and you'd rather watch a serious drama. In the same way, one day the piano might inspire you, and then the next day the piano just leaves you with nothing and you need to go to the guitar instead, or you need to go to the bass, or you need to change up the sound. Maybe normally you'd use acoustic guitar, but sometimes it might be more helpful to actually turn on the distortion and get out the electric guitar instead. So besides just different sounds, if you want even more different ways to sort of think about starting songwriting and different standpoints to start a song from, be sure to check out that free guide. Link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Hope this tip was helpful to you, and I'll talk to you in the next one.